What is going on, everybody? Welcome to your daily astrology horoscope for Monday, August 19th, 2024. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. It's a big day. I'm sure most of you know that big bad mama up in the sky is real full tonight. She sure is. It's a full moon in Aquarius. Actually, it's midday. It's really midday, but you've been seeing it, you've been feeling it. And I appreciate your leeway for the weekend horoscope. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get it done. I got too busy, and it just didn't work out. So I appreciate your understanding with that, and I hope everybody's doing well. We're going to take a look at this big, bad mamma jamma rebel super full moon in Aquarius. It's definitely it's getting a little weird. It's getting a little weird, guys. Of course, we're in Leo season. We have been. This is the full moon of the Leo lunation. We just had a Mercury Cazimi over the weekend on Sunday, and that retrograde Mercury went right in between the sun and the earth in retrograde motion, and we definitely are starting to understand a little bit more internally about our heart, how to understand the heart's wants, how to express ourselves, how to be more true in ourselves. And this full moon is definitely bringing out a lot of that. It's really about bringing out and releasing what isn't authentic, right? What is inauthentic in our lives, because that's the rebel nature of Aquarius. It's rebelling not just for like the anarchy sake of rebellion, which it can at times, but really it's rebelling from the conditionings, the certain things that we've been raised with, or what we're so used to or accustomed to. It's the ability to be more yourself. And that's the beauty of the Leo Aquarius axis, and that we want to remember in this time is those like little insights that we get from a Mercury retrograde, even though it's been weird and there's just been this huge emotional buildup since that first quarter square in Scorpio, all the way through Sagittarius and Capricorn. You know, this full moon's been intense on the buildup, and best case scenario, and what I tend to think is that the full moon is the release. So as we get to literally almost noon on the west coast, 11:26 is when it's exact. So 2:26 on the east coast of the United States. You know, that is the apex point where it's like, okay, it's time to be more authentic. It's time to express myself more fully, my emotions, where I'm trying to go. Just having that courage, because it's Leo season, to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And this could be uncomfortable conversations, uncomfortable emotions, uncomfortable connections that we have to kind of figure out how to liberate ourselves from. So it's a very liberating energy. It's a very like, let's stop playing pretend. Like, this is like a real, like, let's be real again full moon. It's almost like could have been playing like the drama of Leo season, could have been playing the game, you know, trying to fit a role somewhere. And here we are at a point where it's like, nope, full moon in Aquarius, super full moon, can't escape that any longer. We have to really find our authenticity, our uniqueness, and get back to that. And this can be hyper connected for many of us within the groups that we're in, especially if they're authentic and they're heart opening and there's a future, and there's just like this really cool collaboration and wavelength that goes on between people. Super cool. But it's like if there's not that type of energy too within our connections and our friends and the groups and the communities and things that we're spending these times with, um, you know, we can't rebel from the sense of knowing that we need to rebel any longer. So I do think this is a big full moon for like people that are going through the motions, that are literally like stopping themselves out of some fear of something. This is like no more of that. Just gotta be unique and true to yourself and liberate yourself from what has got us chained up in some way. And I think that the mind's ready. It just went in between the sun and the earth. We just got a big like Leo lift off of like kind of like remembering like, oh yeah, that's who I am. And we don't want to like forget that or get stuck in it because of, you know, some kind of crusty energy that we've kind of had to go through over the last week. It was a very emotional week. And I'm not like a super emotional person, but like, man, when I am going through some crazy emotional shit, I'm like, people got to be going through some crazy emotional shit right now. Like, this is wild. This can't just be me. It's never just me. And like, I'm emotional for sure, but when it really affects me, I'm like, okay, this is a thing. Um, so we got to release a lot of that too, and some of the traumas and some of the buried things that are stopping us from our individual nature, our individual power to connect fully to our futures, to reinvent ourselves. It's always these little things. A good example is I finally just quit one of my jobs. I was working part time at a grocery store to just make a little extra money. And like I had to put my 2 weeks in for that because every day I'd go there, it's not my vibe. Like I get unhappy. I don't want to be there. I feel like a slave. I don't feel, you know, good about the work I'm doing there. I don't feel valued. There's a lot of things and it would make me upset. And like sure, I could have sat there and just kept doing it and bite the bullet because it's a somewhat secure paycheck every week, even though it's a small one. It was something that I could rely on. But I'm like, you know what? I can't keep rebelling from my need to rebel from this situation in my life. So the lead up to this full moon was like, it's done. It's done. It's not connected. There's no future. I don't want to be the manager of this place. I don't want to. It doesn't have a future, right? So there's things in our life right now that we're realizing do not have a future, and it's our job as individuals to be in our power centers, to be in our heart, and to know our creative potential enough to break free from situations that is not liberating us and not making us feel good. And that can feel so intense on so many levels because it almost feels like a taboo. It almost feels like you're doing something wrong. So hear me out. If you feel that in your life in some way, shape, or form, it's not wrong. Okay? It's safe to rebel. This is like the most rebellious full moon I've seen in a long time. It's exactly T square Uranus. Mercury square Uranus for the second time. It already did it once, direct in shadow. Now it's coming back in retrograde, squaring Uranus again. This is a mental kind of shit show, if you will. This is definitely putting our mind in a very tweaked out spot, and it's already retrograde, so the internal dialogue that can be going on in our own heads is absolute insanity almost. It's chaotic in many ways. It has moments of complete revelation, but it's like still trying to piece things together, and we're going to get one more square with Mercury coming up soon. I mean, Mercury's going to come direct here in 9 days, so we're getting real close. But we got one more week of this, and then we're going to come back and make this square again. I think that that's where some really big revelations will be more understood within ourselves, and especially in Virgo season, we'll be able to more analytically put that together, and then Mercury's going to come back into Virgo, be strong again, out of shadow, out of retrograde shadow, post, and we're going to start to be able to make some things click in a more precise way. Right now, things are sloppy. And we have to be okay with a little slop too. Like looking for perfection, which Venus in Virgo, oh my gosh. We'll beat ourselves to death over some quest for perfection. Perfection doesn't exist in this astrology. Our karma, Saturn's in Pisces. Like what? Like the opposite of Virgo? And oh, wait, Venus is opposite Saturn? And Saturn and Jupiter are making their first quarter square exact on this full moon. Remember, they met at right where Pluto's at, ironically, 0 Aquarius, on December 21st, 2020. That was their conjunction. They started a new 20-year cycle. Well, this is the first quarter square of that cycle. So there's been so much that's happened since 2020 in our lives. There's been a future that's been understood. There's been building blocks that have been put in place. There's been a lot of things that have happened. It's almost like a time warp in some ways, kind of to this spot that we're in now. And we don't want to lose track on the goals and the future and the things that we're trying to expand in our life. But right now we're in such a pressure cooker that is one half in the pressure cooker is this expansion element that wants to share, it wants to be with the community, it wants to learn, it wants to talk, it wants to be all these different things, it wants to move fast. And there's this other area in this pressure cooker that's in a very, it's out of time. The planet Saturn, the planet of time, is out of time and space in Pisces. It has no rulership over the infinite. It has rulership over our realm, time-space continuum, whatever you want to call it. Some call it Earth, some call it flat. I don't know. But linear time is in such a weird space right now, and trying to perfect our linear time. I mean, this is like crazy stuff. This is lunatic kind of full moon energy. We could literally be in such an emotional mental bind over things because we want a future to happen, and we're being hypercritical and hypersensitive over these timelines and how things are supposed to line up right here, right now, because maybe our ego wants it with Chiron in Aries. It's Leo season with the sun and Mercury trying to like have this ego take complete control, but there isn't complete control. And that's one thing Uranus teaches us too. It's one thing that Aquarius teaches us, is that things don't always show up the way we expect them to. We have to be open and courageous enough to go through into the unexpected with it, or into expected even, but expect the unexpected and be okay with things happening and weird twists and weird people and weird energy. And we got to be able to find our own unique self in all these different moments, with people, with relationships, with jobs. And we got to also take our unique experience and find liberation. So there's like this need for perfected form that is not going to be found right now for anybody. It's only found for moments throughout our entire life, and like we can cherish those moments, but we have to just get back on the grind. And Venus and Virgo is a good reminder that we have to constantly clean things up. We have to constantly knock the dust off every week. Like, I do this every week with my desk. It just collects dust every week, and it drives me nuts. And I have this. I need to change it, because I've been knocking so much dust off, but I be swiffering all the dust on my desk because it drives me crazy. But like, does it drive me crazy enough when I see the dust on my desk to like lose my mind and not feel like my desk is valuable to me, or that it's beautiful, or that it helps me manifest abundance, or that it helps me communicate and express and be a teacher for you guys? No, the dust does not matter. In fact, I will do the work I'm doing, and afterwards I'll clean the dust up. So I don't know where I'm really trying to go with that story, but it's again a metaphor, because we like to speak in metaphors with astrology, about how we just have to constantly keep cleaning things up that we value. If you value something, tidy it up, clean it up. If you don't value it right now, with Venus opposite Saturn and this full moon energy in Aquarius and all these Uranus squares, this big T-square energy, then it's not really part of your unique self. It doesn't really have a future. It doesn't matter. So what are we stressing about for? Why stress about it? So it's like really honing in on what is your future and releasing the things that are binding you and keeping you from getting to that future. And the future doesn't have to be in 5 days. It doesn't have to be a 5-year plan. It doesn't have to be a 10-year plan. Just take time out of the equation. Just put your intention out there. Put your intention out there to release all the crud and all the dust in your life that's stopping you from expressing and creating life in your most authentic, true form. And this might shock people in your life, or people might do this in their life and it might shock you. And there's a whole bunch of shocking shit that can happen right now, and maybe has already happened leading up to this. Maybe today's the day. There's so many infinite possibilities all the time. And this is a good astrological reminder to be okay with that infinite possibility, to just be you, to stay in your heart, to understand yourself first. Before you start trying to crack some Da Vinci code about what someone else is going through in life, crack your Da Vinci code, or at least sit with it for a minute and see if you can. Because, I mean, how are you ever going to build anything with somebody if we're talking about relationships with Juno and the South Node getting ready to come together, and they're in Libra, and Venus being the dispositor of that, and opposite Saturn, square Jupiter, square Mars. Venus is just getting absolutely pummeled right now. So relationship energy is extremely difficult right now. It's hard to find harmonious balance. There's too much going on within individuals. We're like very much looking at a North Node in Aries, and people are trying to define their way right now and just find enough power within themselves to move forward, because it feels like every time we get something rolling in the right direction, something comes along and makes a change, and we have to adapt again. And I know, because I've talked to enough people, like we're almost to the point where we're sick of adapting so much. But we have to just keep the ball going. And we have to, we can't forget about ourselves. So this is like an extreme look at your individuality so that you can connect better with people. But you can't expect more from people. And you also, don't want to over expect from yourself. Like, you got to kind of be able to, that's another thing with Aquarius, a disconnection. We have to be able to disconnect from all the worry, from all the stress, so that we can fully liberate ourselves back into our heart. And I think that's the ultimate goal and the ultimate lessons of the intensity of feelings right now, is to say, why is this taking over my happiness? Why is this taking over my creative potential, my ability? Why is this dimming my light? Why am I connected to something that's dimming my light, when I could be connected fully to something that is so authentic and so bright and so full, like a full moon in Aquarius? For my values, for my self-worth, for my bank account, for my relationship, for my this, for my that. And everything might need a little tweaking, and I'm not saying we need to bypass shit and say that everything's perfect, but we have to remember the good stuff, and we have to remember our heart can lead the way right now in a very powerful way. But we can get caught up in so many little things and like project them onto other people, and it can be very difficult right now for outside relationships. And this goes for all of them: friends, family, lovers. It's crusty a little bit, and we're trying to like understand and like make ourselves better right now, but sometimes there's not enough capacity to make your life better and individuate yourself and feel more free yourself if you're worried about everybody else in your life and how to make their life better. So we have to like get back to ourselves a little bit on this one. And I feel like this full moon in Aquarius is another thing, is like, for people that are like really, really group oriented right now, it's almost like, well, have you lost yourself? Do you need to get back and take some alone time and, think about what you need to do in life and not so much about what everybody needs to do? Or if you've been super alienated, is the other flip side to this. If you have not been connected with others or doing anything with others, I feel like this full moon's saying, why are you stopping yourself from finding connection? So it's definitely like multifaceted, it's never one size fits all. But there's like places where it's like, are we rebelling from ourselves right now? And do I need to get back and like give myself that energy and put that uniqueness back into the things I'm trying to create in my life? Or have I been completely rebelling from finding authentic connection and from spending time with people and getting out there? And at that point too, it's like, well, what are you hiding from? Why are you afraid to be around other people? Are you worried that they're not going to accept you? Or what's the issue? So we all have some issue that's kind of a weird one, because it's Aquarius, so it always brings up our weirdest little quirks. And we want to kind of press it a little bit. Maybe that's taking time for ourselves. Maybe that's spending more time with people. Maybe that creates a lot of contrast, because maybe you're somebody who needs to go get more connection, but the people you want to connect with, they've been connecting this whole time, and they're like, I need to disconnect. And that can create this weird opposition again. Venus opposite Saturn. The connection's going to happen when the connection is meant to happen. There's electricity, there's a vibration, everything comes together, and it feels like it has purpose. If it doesn't feel like it has purpose right now, it can feel like imperfect in a lot of ways. And that can be mentally exhausting. So these Venus squares too, I mean, we're looking at a big square between Jupiter and Saturn, and that's that pressure cooker I was talking about, of like wanting this expansion, this journey, this so many things, new things, exciting things, but also that counterpart of like feeling a little restricted or set back, or there's blocks up, or there's a lot of stoplights on this road, and like I just can't get the momentum I want to go to just cruise through, and the timing's off. You ever get that when you're driving down a road and like all, it's got a bunch of stoplights and the timing was just wrong and you hit every stoplight. It can feel like that right now. And it can also have moments where you get through them all too. Like you could time it right and get right through them. But it's both right now. We're trying to navigate like green light, green light, green light, green light on a roll in life and on a roll with certain things that may have started just 4.5 years ago. Big things, life-changing things. I know my life changed forever, before that conjunction and after it. It's a big reason I'm here with you right now doing these videos. And here I am, like quitting some little side job, and I'm like, I need to go more into astrology again. I need to get deeper into astrology. I've been almost suppressing it too much. I need to expand the thing that I want to put my time and my energy into, the thing that I want to maybe be a legacy someday. Talking about Saturn, right? So think about this stuff in your own life. Like, this journey can happen, but it's like you got to put effort and work into the things that are going to be your future. Doesn't have to have a timeline built into it, but man, the effort has to be there, or else it doesn't matter what your timeline is. If you don't put the effort in, you're not going to get the result. And you're not going to see the expanse. So we have to figure out how to work with that, and we have to figure out too how to not even like overindulge when it comes to people or money. We have to almost be like very selective. The vibration has to be very on point. It has to be going into a future. It has to be going somewhere that's unique and special to both people or all parties involved. And Mars is there just adding tension, and it feels like there could be some war building. There's passion. There's like a passionate energy that wants to get into each other, that wants to be around, but there's also like like a nitpicky, like it's not showing up just how I want it. So it's weird because it's not how it's like had a great dream and then it's like almost deja vu and it shows up in real life, but it's like not hitting that perfect little thing that we wanted, and we're like, oh, this is bull. But it's like everything else is going well too, but we want to get upset. So there's so many moving parts to this full moon that are ultimately like, just be true to yourself. Express from your heart. Keep working for things that you want to put effort into, that feel like they have some kind of destiny in life. It's connected to purpose, to fate, and you don't have to fully understand what that purpose is or something, but it's a feeling, and it feels karmically like a karmic necessity in our lives. And we want to keep going for those things. We want to keep making that connection stronger. So we have to also disconnect from things so that we can ramp up our capacity to connect fuller to the really good things, the really good people, and to ourselves. That's a huge one. Uranus and Taurus is like, we all have a really unique value system right now as a collective. We're all like, there's a lot of similarities, but there's always a little unique quirk. So I think we really want to like find that special little thing that's weird within us and realize that like that's not what we're releasing. We're actually releasing all the BS that's stopping us from using some special ability, some special thing within us that is probably something that you look online, you see somebody getting made fun of for or something. I don't know. It's something that we're probably insecure about. But really, it's special and it's unique and it is valuable. And we all need to be more courageous to show that thing in life that is that value, that is unique to ourselves. And by loving ourselves in new, unique ways and treating ourselves better in these new, unique ways. And not everything has to be so cookie cutter. It's almost like we got to stop doing, like, there's just too many things that we all do as a collective the same way. And this is like, stop. Stop doing it the same way. You got to do it your way. If you don't do it your way right now, whose way are you really doing it? And there's good aspects to Chiron. The sun's still in a trine to Chiron. Mercury is heading back towards that trine with Chiron. It'll station at 21 degrees of Leo, so we're going to get some more of that. So, I mean, there's just so much healing right now, and I think there's a lot of empowerment that can be understood and expressed, but it's not going to come by treating yourself like shit. It's not going to come by rebelling from your special, unique quality that only you have, or the unique ability of something that you can do or say or be. It's like you got to do that right now, and you got to get out of the stuff that's stopping you from doing what's special and unique to you. And there's a lot of identification that's going to come and a lot of insights, and this can definitely be a full moon that brings so much revelation and revolution in our lives, and it's powerful. So I think that this is definitely an important one to put intention on, of like, what am I going to show the people in my life? What am I going to show the world? What is it about me that I have been like suppressing because I feel like it's not cool enough or something? Because I bet you anything, like, that's what people are going to think is cool now. The norm, like, this is like, release normal, embrace unique individual self, embrace connection. And if you are overly connected and you haven't found yourself, then you got to take a break too from some of that, and you got to connect back to yourself, because if you don't connect to yourself, you're never going to be able to connect fully with others anyways. But the intention's got to be around, like, stop rebelling from your need to be special in yourself. Stop rebelling from a future that can light the way for you, because it's heart-centered and it feels like it has something special. We get to choose right now what expands and what contracts, and that's the big part of this Saturn-Jupiter square. And Venus is just in there just for the fun of it. Like, which puts a lot of energy too with that T-square on Sag, and then even this full moon puts a lot of energy on Scorpio. And it's like, we need to just get passionate again about the things that light us up. And we need to start expanding things right now, because if we get too narrow-minded and too just small ball, we're missing the special ability that can come. So we got to figure out how to keep this ball expanding and how to do the things that you want to put the work into. It's like Venus in Virgo here can be beautiful for us if we're putting energy and effort into the things that they might take work. It might be gritty. It might not be fun right now, but damn, it has a future with Venus opposite Saturn. Like, dang, I want to do this. I want to clean this up. I want to restore this in my life, or I want to just completely reinvent something in my life. So there's a lot of potent potential out there. Release the things that are holding you back, that are keeping you chained to something. Like, this is a liberating full moon. We really have a great opportunity to grow and to evolve and to get back into our hearts and to stop feeling weird for something that is great and that is amazing. So try to knock those chains off any way you can today. Be objective. It's one of those things too where it's like, this full moon requires a lot of objectivity and being able to, like, almost go third person, out of body, and like see things from above. And instead of just emotionally overreacting to certain situations and getting angry and getting aggressive, like, we have to, like, see things from this other perspective, that, wow, this is taking healing, this person's healing, this thing, like, everything's more intricate than we realize on an individual basis. And we have to kind of zoom out to, like, understand it fully. But that ability and maturity to see things that way is just going to only help you to further liberate yourself with everything that you're connected to and within yourself. All right, 30 minutes of talking about a full moon. Hopefully that's helpful. I hope you all are doing well. I had a super emotional weekend, so I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm doing just fine. Um, just made me feel human again. Sometimes I'm so even and like flat that like sometimes I wonder for myself. And then, it was a good day. It made me feel like human again and think about things and contemplate. And yeah, so, anyways, I was almost going to do a weekend video on Saturday, and I just like, it was not the day. Honestly, Friday night, when I finally did get back home at like 12, and Saturday, you guys wouldn't have wanted to hear nothing from me. I was not in the place anyways. So thanks for your patience. Let's see what card we got for this full moon. Page of Wands or Rods in this deck, which is definitely open to seeing where things can go. I mean, this is the ultimate curiosity for the adventure at hand, and like what can be built and where can we put our energy sources, and how can we use certain materials too that we already have. I mean, it's a really think outside the box kind of time. Like, what can you do differently to build something that's more unique and expressive in your life and more connected, that maybe you thought you had to do it a certain way, but you don't. You kind of have more freedom right now, and it's almost like get back into that, like, that place where you don't feel like you have to be so rigid with how you do things. The 7 of Rods or Wands in reverse. So I mean, yeah, that too is like avoid conflict today. Like, we're all trying to figure out some really weird emotions and trying to find liberation in our life. So we kind of got to give people the benefit of the doubt too, and like, we don't need to be getting in fights with people today either. Like, just put the swords down, put the weapons down, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going to go figure my stuff out. You figure your stuff out. I'll see you when I see you. I do think that fights can be avoided too, and it kind of comes from like being more focused on where your journey's going and not so much focused on like how somebody else is going to go through their journey, and even trying to like tell them how their journey should go. Like, I feel like that's going to be a little, that'd be a little hard too. And the Chariot in reverse. It's crunchy, okay? It's crunchy. I think that we're seeing that there's opportunity to build a lot in the future right now, and that we can feel very divinely guided to keep moving somewhere and to keep going in a direction and to kind of crusade out a little bit, but it's a little crunchy, and it's just not, just don't expect it to go as planned either. Don't expect something to happen right away. Don't feel like you did the wrong thing because you didn't get to the right destination at the right time and you had to take a detour. Like, just embrace detours. Figure out how to objectively maneuver in life. Try to not get into too big of conflicts with people. Things can be resolved right now if we express openly from our heart. And like, that's the only upright card we got was this Page of Wands. And it's like, if we're in our heart and we're in just our pure like essence of our own creative self and our soul, just express that. Page is a messenger. Like, just be honest and real about where your journey is going, and people will get it eventually. They don't have to get it right now. And it's just going to help you get to your journey faster, and ultimately, wherever or whoever you're meeting on your journey, it's just going to get those junctions figured out sooner or later anyways. But it all comes from your heart. It all comes from being truly unique to yourself, being honest about that, and acting from that place, and not playing some role that isn't yours because you were taught to, told to, thought it was yours. Play your role. I love you all very much. Have a beautiful start to your week, and I hope it's a beautiful full moon for you all, and I'll see you all tomorrow for Tuesday's horoscope. Much love. Peace.